Okay, so today or tonight, you guys are supposed to, we've done multiplying, dividing, and simplifying rational expressions. So now we need to get into addition and subtraction of rational expressions. The good news is, kind of like the video last night, you're still dealing with the least common multiple. Okay, so least common multiple is what we've got to find. So for letter A, when I'm looking this, I've got, or least common factor, you may want to say, in this case. Okay, so I've got x squared and x squared, right? So x squared and x squared, if I look at those two things, the least common factor is x squared, okay, or least common denominator. All of those things are dealing with the same type of thing. So x squared is the smallest thing that both of these can go into. So what I need to do, okay, in order to add these is I need to have the same thing in the denominator. And I do. So this one's pretty easy. If the same thing's in the denominator, then all I'm going to do with fractions, if the denominator is the same, then it can all be written over the same thing. It's like we've talked about before, earlier in the semester, when we did inverses. I don't know if you'll remember it, but where I said, if you divide by a number, you can, so if you divide this, if you do 1/2 or 1 plus 5 over 2, you can write it as 1 over 2 plus 5 over 2. Well, the reverse is true. If I start with this, say I start with this, I could go, oh, that's 1 plus 5 over 2. So as long as my denominator is the same, I can put the numerator together. And if I do that here, I get 2 plus 4y over x squared. There's nothing else I can do. There's no factoring to do. There's no reducing to do. That's just my answer. Okay? Letter B is similar. It's not very difficult, but there is one trick, and it's one we've dealt with all year and that's gotten us all year. And that's this. We've got subtraction now. Well, these are both the same denominator. So the least common denominator is w minus 6. We've already got that. Okay? W minus 6 is what we've got. So I can put this all over w minus 6. But when I do 5w plus 2, I've got to subtract all of this. So in effect, I've got to, all the signs, all of these things you're doing the opposite of. So instead of w, I'm going to do minus w. Instead of minus 4, I'm going to do plus 4. Remember what I've told you before, and that's why I'm putting the parentheses, is to remind us of that, is you can say, okay, add the opposites, if that'll help you. So I end up with 4w plus 6 over w minus 6. Well, I can factor a 2 out of this 4w plus 6, but it's not going to give me w minus 6. So I won't be able to reduce anything. So it's fine to leave my answer at 4w plus 6 over w minus 6. Okay? Now, when we get to C, it gets a little tougher. Okay? In C, you don't have the same things in the denominator. So let's look at this, 13 and 6. So we have to kind of break those numbers down, 13 and 6. Do they have any common numbers? The answer is no. So really, if they don't have any common numbers, any common factors, I'm sorry. If they don't have any common factors, we're just going to multiply those two numbers together. And now this always works. It will not give you the least common denominator, but it will give you a common denominator if you multiply the two things completely together. But in this case, 13 and 6, because the only factor they have in common is 1, it doesn't really help us. We have to make it so it'll be 78. And then I need an x squared, and I need a y squared. See, the key is this thing has to be divisible by both denominators, and it is. Okay, but if you want to find it, you can always multiply this for one denominator times another. So here's the trick. All right, I need to get this denominator and this denominator to be the same. Well, to do that, I can figure out what do I have to multiply 13 by to give me 78. Well, that's sort of easy because we just did it. I needed to multiply by 6. And I'm going to multiply by 6 on top and bottom. The reason I'm doing numerator and denominator by 6 is because really, in effect, if you think about it, we're just multiplying 6 over 6 is just 1. And I can multiply anything by 1. So in effect, I'm kind of cheating the system. I can multiply by 6 over 6 because it's like multiplying by 1 And I can always do that in mathematics. It doesn't change the value of the thing. It may change the way it looks, but not its ultimate value. The other thing I'm missing in this one is x squared. So I'm going to multiply by 6x squared in the numerator and the denominator. So let's do that. So 6 times 7, 42, x cubed over 78, x squared, y squared. Now, in the second fraction, I'm missing the 13 and the y squared. So I have to multiply by 13y squared in the numerator and the denominator. Well, 13 times 4 is 52, y cubed, all over 78, x squared, y squared. So now I have a common denominator. I can put all of this over 78x squared, y squared. So 42x cubed plus 52y cubed all over 78x squared, y squared. That would be my solution. Okay? All right, letter D. So letter D is a little trickier because what you've got right now is you've got 4w minus 16, 2w minus 8. We have to do a little bit of factoring. So in 4w minus 16, if I factor w4 out, I get 4 times w minus 4. Well, in this other, if I factor by 2 out, I get 2 times w minus 4. So that's the tricky part. This one's actually not as bad as some of the others, and here's why. So the least common denominator, well, w minus 4 is in both, so clearly that has to be a part, but it's already there. Well, look, this is 4, this is 2. So the least common denominator can only be as small as the biggest number. So 4 times w minus 4 is what I would need to multiply the numerator and the denominator by. Well, look, this first one was already 4. The denominator is already 4 times w minus 4. The second one is missing 2. If I multiply the second one by 2, the denominator will be 4 times w minus 4. So I'm going to multiply the numerator and denominator by 2. So I get w plus 12 over 4w minus 16 minus, I've got to distribute this too, 2w plus 8 over 4w minus 16. So there we go. I have the same denominator. So I can write the whole thing over 4w minus 16. Now be careful here, okay? I'm actually going to move all of this up a little bit so it fits a little better, okay? So I've got w plus 12 over 4w minus 16 minus 2w plus 8 over 4w minus 16. Now, this minus has to be distributed. You have to distribute it. You can put it all over 4w minus 16, and that's fine, but you get w plus 12 minus 2w plus 8. Well, this has to be distributed. So those are both minuses or negatives or however you would want to look at it. So I get negative w plus 4 over 4w minus 16. Now, here's the bummer. You still could do a little more. And here's the trick. So this one's tricky. Remember we said that this denominator, could be written as this. And so it may be valuable to even keep it that way. Here, you can factor a negative 1 out of this numerator. And you're left with w minus 4. So those would go away, and your answer would be negative 1/4. It's a tough problem, okay? So again, we're trying to get the denominators to be the same. Okay, I'm going to do 2 more, and then we're done. All right, I used up a lot of my space for this next one, didn't I? Okay, so for this one, if you look at this, if I factor the 2 out of this first one, this is 2 times y minus 5. I'm going to write it this way. This may help some of you better. So the least common denominator of this problem Okay, if you notice, this has y minus 5. They both do. So y minus 5 is part of it, but there's also this 2. So the first term doesn't need anything because it already has 2 times y minus 5. So I could leave it 3y plus 1 over 2 times y minus 5. The second one, however, needs to be multiplied by 2 over 2. So I get plus 2 over 2 times y minus 5 because I multiplied the numerator and the denominator by 2. When I combine like terms, 3y, because now my denominator is all the same. So 2 times y minus 5. I get 3y plus 1 plus 2, which is just 3y plus 3 over 2 times y minus 5. Now you can factor there. You can factor. But when you do, you could pull a 3 out of the y's, but nothing else will reduce. So I'm going to stop there. Okay. All right. The last one we'll do today is this one. So letter F. So x times plus 2 over x plus 1. This one often gets people, and it's actually one of the easier ones, and here's why. If you notice, x just has nothing as a denominator, or 1 as a denominator, really. So really, x plus 1, if you did 1 times x plus 1 would be your denominator. So all that you have to do is multiply both of the first term, x, by x plus 1 over x plus 1. So you distribute that x. You get x squared plus x over x plus 1 plus 2 over x plus 1. Well, you can write all of it over x plus 1. So you get x squared plus x plus 2. That is not factorable on top. So that's my answer. Okay? All right, so I know that kind of jumped, but I just wanted to get closure. So these notes, these 6 problems you should get down. And then tomorrow you should have these in your notes. You're going to have questions, so we're going to practice it. Okay? All right, we look forward to seeing you tomorrow. Bye-bye.